It was a bright Sunday afternoon. The sky was clear, and the sun smiled down on a peaceful little neighborhood. Birds sang softly, and a cool breeze danced through the trees. Everything felt calm and happy. On Maple Street, a man named Mr. Ahmed stood in his backyard. He was wearing a white apron and holding a pair of tongs in one hand. The smell of grilled meat filled the air as smoke slowly rose from the BBQ grill. His wife Sarah was placing plates on the table, laughing with her daughter, Aisha, who was helping carry juice. Bottles from the kitchen. Mr. Ahmed had invited a few close friends and neighbors for a small get-together. It wasn't a big party, just some good food, music, and time with loved ones. Children ran around with balloons and water guns. Some adults sat on lawn chairs, sipping cold drinks and talking about life. One of the guests was Police Chief Khalid, dressed in simple jeans and a polo shirt. Most people didn't even notice him at first. He wasn't there as a police officer. He was there as Mr. Ahmed's old friend from school. "I haven't had food like this since your wedding," Chief Khalid joked, biting into a grilled kebab. Mr. Ahmed laughed. "That's because you stopped coming over." Everyone was smiling. The music was soft, and laughter filled the yard. It was the kind of moment people remember forever. A perfect day, but not everyone was happy, just 2 houses away. An old man stood behind his curtain, watching with a cold stare. His name was Mr. Wilson. He had lived on this street for over 30 years. He kept to himself. He didn't talk to neighbors. He didn't wave, and he didn't like noise. He especially didn't like Mr. Ahmed's family. Mr. Wilson narrowed his eyes as he watched the BBQ. He saw people laughing, dancing, and having fun. But to him, it looked like a problem. "They don't belong here," he muttered to himself. The smell of the BBQ reached his window. He closed it in anger. The sound of children laughing annoyed him. He turned off his hearing aid, but he could still hear the joy outside. He looked at the clock. 3 p.m. His drawer and pulled out his old phone. He stared at it for a few seconds. His finger hovered over the screen. "No one else will stop this," he said quietly. "So I will." He dialed 911. Double quotes. "911, what's your emergency?" came the calm voice on the other end. "I'd like to report a disturbance," Mr. Wilson said firmly. "What kind of disturbance, sir?" "There's a group of people having a loud party behind my house. It's out of control. Music, shouting, maybe even drinking. I feel unsafe. Do you see any weapons or dangerous behavior? They look suspicious. You should come check it out before something bad happens." The operator asked for more details. Mr. Wilson gave Mr. Ahmed's address, then ended the call with a small, satisfied smile. Back at the BBQ, no one knew what was coming. Mr. Ahmed was telling a funny story. The guests were listening with joy. Aisha had started painting little hearts on the younger kids' faces. Even the older neighbors, who usually didn't join in, had come over for a plate of rice and grilled chicken. Ben. The sound came. Sirens. Loud, sharp, close. Everyone turned toward the street. 3 police cars came rolling in, fast, lights flashing, brakes screeching. People stood up in confusion. Some guests looked scared. Others looked at Mr. Ahmed. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, holding Aisha close. "I don't know," Mr. Ahmed replied, stepping forward. The children stopped playing. The music went silent. All joy disappeared in an instant. Fear replaced it. The officers stepped out quickly, their hands near their belts. One of them called out, "Whose house is this?" Before Mr. Ahmed could speak, Police Chief Khalid stepped forward. "It's mine," he said, his voice calm but firm. The officers paused. They looked at each other. One recognized him immediately. "Chief Khalid." Chief Khalid nodded. "Yes, what's the problem here, officers?" "We got a call about a disturbance, possible illegal activity." Chief Khalid raised an eyebrow. "Illegal activity? This is a family BBQ." The officers looked around. They saw plates of food, juice bottles, balloons, and children holding face paint. No loud music, no alcohol, no fighting. Just a peaceful gathering. Mr. Ahmed walked up slowly. "Is everything all right, sir?" he asked one of the officers politely. The officer looked uncomfortable. "We're sorry to disturb you, sir. We were just following up on a call." Chief Khalid folded his arms. "I'd like to know who made that call." One officer checked his tablet. "Caller's name is Mr. Wilson. He lives 2 houses down." Everyone turned to look at Mr. Wilson's house, and there he was standing by his window watching. But now, his smile was gone. The BBQ was no longer peaceful. People felt uncomfortable. The children were confused. Mr. Ahmed's elderly mother sat down, breathing heavily. She looked afraid. Sarah brought her water and wiped her forehead. "Mama, it's okay. It's just a mistake." But deep inside, everyone knew it wasn't a mistake. Mr. Ahmed looked at his daughter. Aisha was holding his hand tightly. Her eyes were wide. "Baba," she whispered, "did we do something wrong?" Mr. Ahmed knelt down and hugged her. "No, sweetheart. We didn't do anything wrong." But in his heart, he felt broken. The sirens had gone quiet, but the silence at the BBQ was heavy. The joy had vanished. Smiles had turned into worried faces. Children were now holding their parents' hands. Food was left untouched. The smell of BBQ still floated in the air, but it didn't smell the same anymore. Mr. Ahmed stood near the officers, trying to stay calm. He didn't want to scare his guests more than they already were. Police Chief Khalid turned to the officer holding the tablet. "You said Mr. Wilson made the call?" he asked. That the young officer nodded. "Yes, sir. He said there was loud music, shouting, and possibly illegal activity." Chief Khalid's face stayed calm, but his voice became sharper. "You've been here for 10 minutes now. Do you see anything illegal?" The officer looked around against kids holding balloons, a woman in hijab pouring juice, old men sitting on chairs, talking quietly. "No, sir. Nothing illegal at all." Double quotes. Mr. Ahmed finally spoke. His voice was steady, but his eyes were filled with pain. "This is not the first time, you know." One of the officers looked at him. "What do you mean, sir?" Mr. Ahmed looked down at his hands. "Every time we gather, every time we invite our friends, something happens, a noise complaint, a strange look, a false report." His wife, Sarah, stood beside him. "We've lived here for 12 years, never broke a single rule, never caused any trouble." Chief Khalid turned to the guests. "Everyone, please stay calm. There's no danger here. You are not in trouble." But the tension was still there. People didn't feel safe. Not after the way the police arrived. Not after the way they were. Looked at Dot, a child began crying. A mother picked him up and hugged him close. Chief Khalid looked back toward Mr. Wilson's house. Dot, inside that house? Mr. Wilson was still watching from behind the curtain. His arms were crossed, but his face didn't look proud anymore. It looked nervous. His phone was still on the table. The screen showed the call history. 911 call ended -23 minutes ago. He didn't expect this. He thought the police would come, see a crowd, maybe scare them off. He never imagined the police chief himself would be there. He stepped back from the window. "Maybe I went too far," he whispered. But outside, the officers had calmed the crowd. Chief Khalid spoke directly to Mr. Ahmed. "I'm sorry this happened. Truly, it never should have." Mr. Ahmed nodded. "But it did, and now everyone is afraid." Chief Khalid sighed. "Let's speak to Mr. Wilson. Let's find out why he made this call." Mr. Ahmed's eyes showed pain, but also courage. "Let's go." A small group walked toward Mr. Wilson's house. Chief Khalid, 2 officers, and Mr. Ahmed. Mr. Wilson heard the knock at his door. He waited, then slowly opened it. He was surprised to see the police chief standing there. "Mr. Wilson," Khalid said calmly, "we need to speak with you." Mr. Wilson stepped outside and closed the door behind him. "I just reported what I saw," he said quickly. "There were too many people. It looked unusual." "Unusual?" Mr. Ahmed asked softly. "You see families in your own neighborhood, and they look unusual to you." Mr. Wilson avoided eye contact. I don't like noise." One of the officers stepped forward. "Sir, we didn't find any illegal activity, no alcohol, no loud music. Just a normal BBQ." Mr. Wilson shrugged. "Well, better safe than sorry." Chief Khalid's tone became serious. "You didn't call because you were scared. You called because you were angry, and because you don't like people who look different from you." Mr. Wilson finally looked at Khalid. "That's not true." "Then why didn't you ever call the police when the neighbors on the next street threw loud parties at night?" Chief Khalid asked. Mr. Wilson stayed silent. "You called today because Mr. Ahmed's family is not white?" the chief continued. "And that's the truth, whether you admit it or not." The air grew heavy. One of the officers pulled out a small pad. "Sir, you've made a false police report. We have to issue a warning. Next time it will be a fine or arrest." Mr. Wilson's face turned pale. "A warning?" The officer nodded. "Yes, sir. You misused emergency services. This barbecue was peaceful and legal." Mr. Wilson said nothing. He stepped back inside and closed the door slowly. Back in the backyard, people were still quiet. The fun was gone. The food was cold. Children were sitting on the grass, not playing anymore. When Mr. Ahmed returned, all eyes turned to him. He smiled gently, trying to bring back some hope. "It's okay now. We're okay." But deep inside, he knew something had changed. Something had been broken. Chief Khalid stood up and spoke loudly. The night had passed, but the feeling didn't go away. Mr. Ahmed woke up early the next morning. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. His wife, Sarah, walked in with a cup of tea. "You didn't sleep?" she asked gently. He shook his head. "Not really." They both stayed quiet for a moment. The sun was rising outside. Birds were singing again. But for them, the air felt heavy. Meanwhile, across town, something unexpected was happening. The video from the BBQ had gone viral. The woman in the red scarf had posted it with the caption, "When the police arrive, but the chief is already at the BBQ." Within hours, the video had been shared on social media, news apps, and messaging groups. People were shocked at how a peaceful family was treated like criminals, just because of a false call. Thousands of comments poured in. "This is racism, plain and simple. Shame on that neighbor. Respect to the police chief for standing up." Mr. Ahmed didn't expect it. He wasn't looking for fame. But now the world was watching. Later that day, Mr. Ahmed received a message on his phone. It was from an old friend. "Hey, your video is on the news." He opened the link. It showed a news report. Family BBQ interrupted by false police call. Police chief defends neighbors. His face showed no joy, just confusion. Why did something so wrong need to go viral for people to care? At the same time, Police Chief Khalid was at the station. He had called a meeting with the officers who arrived at the barbecue. He stood in front of them. "Serious, we need to talk," he said. The officers looked at each other quietly. "You responded to a 911 call yesterday," he continued. "You followed the rules, but that call never should have been made." One officer spoke. "It felt wrong the moment we arrived, sir." Chief Khalid nodded. "The caller lied. He made a fake report because of personal dislike and, maybe even bias." He paused, then looked each officer in the eye. "I want you all to learn something. From this, not every call is true. Sometimes people use the police to hurt others, and we must be careful." Outside the station, reporters were waiting. They weren't there for a crime, they were there for a story. Microphones, cameras, flashing. "Lights, is it true the BBQ was peaceful? Did the caller lie? Was it racism? What's your message to the public?" Chief Khaled gave one short answer. "We must protect people, not punish them for being different." Then he walked away. Back on Maple Street, neighbors began to talk. Some were ashamed they hadn't said anything before. Others had quietly watched what happened and stayed silent, but now silence didn't feel right anymore. One neighbor, an old woman named Mrs. Grace, walked to Mr. Ahmed's house holding a small cake. She knocked softly. Mr. Ahmed opened the door. She smiled nervously. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry I should have come yesterday. I was scared, but you didn't deserve that." He took the cake and smiled kindly. "Thank you, it means a lot." After her, another neighbor came, then another. By evening, Mr. Ahmed's table was full of cards. Notes the next morning. Mr. Ahmed stood by the front window, looking at the street. Everything looked normal again. Kids were riding bikes, birds sat on the electric wires. The world had moved on, but something inside him had changed. He felt tired not just in his body, but in his heart. Sarah came beside him. She held his hand. Gently, "You haven't eaten since yesterday," she said. "I'm not hungry," he replied. She didn't push him. She just stood with him, quietly. At the same time, Police Chief Khalid sat in his office, reading emails. Most of them were about the BBQ incident. Some were from the media, some were from angry citizens, but many were messages of support. "Thank you for protecting that family. We need more officers like you. I never understood what my neighbors go through. Until now." He leaned back in his chair. His face was calm, but his mind was working. "This isn't just about one family," he whispered to himself. "This is bigger." Later that day, Khalid visited the 911 call center. He sat down with the staff and listened to the recording of Mr. Wilson's call. They played it back. "There's a loud party happening behind my house. Music, shouting. I feel unsafe. I don't trust these people." Khalid paused the audio. "I don't trust these people," he repeated slowly. That one sentence held the truth. It wasn't about noise. It wasn't about the number of guests. It was about who the guests were. Back at Mr. Ahmed's house, the doorbell rang. It was the same officer who had first responded to the 911 call, Officer Rizwan. He looked a bit nervous. "Mr. Ahmed," he said, "may I speak with you?" Mr. Ahmed nodded and stepped aside. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. We should have handled things differently that day." Mr. Ahmed looked at him. "You were doing your job." "Yes," Rizwan replied, "but sometimes we follow rules without using our hearts." There was silence. Then the officer added, "Chief Khalid is looking into the call. He believes it was a clear misuse of 911, double quotes." Mr. Ahmed nodded again. "I hope the truth comes out. People should know what really happened," and the truth did come out. The local news aired a report later that night. It included audio from Mr. Wilson's call and showed parts of the viral video from the BBQ. The reporter said, "What began as a peaceful family gathering turned into a moment of fear because of a false call. But thanks to the presence of police, Chief Khalid, the truth was protected." The community reacted strongly. People were angry, but not at Mr. Ahmed. They were angry at the system that allowed someone to use the police to punish a neighbor for simply living. Mr. Wilson watched the news alone in his house. His phone buzzed nonstop. His neighbors stopped greeting him. His own relatives had called him with shame. "Why did you do this?" his cousin asked. "You've embarrassed the whole family." He sat on the couch, face buried in his hands. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," he whispered, "but it had. The truth was out now, and truth has a way of changing everything." The next day, the mayor of the town called for a public meeting. It was held in the local park, where people could come and speak. Many citizens showed up, some with signs that said, "BBQ is not a crime. We all belong here. Silence is not peace." Mr. Ahmed was invited to speak. He stood on a small stage with a microphone in his hand. His daughter Aisha stood beside him, holding his arm. He took a deep breath. "My name is Ahmed. I am your neighbor. I have lived here for over 12 years. I pay my taxes. I raise my children with love. I help people when they need me. And last week, I was treated like a criminal because I had a BBQ in my own backyard." The crowd went quiet. "I was not angry because police came. I was hurt because someone thought we were a threat, just because we looked different." He looked at his daughter. "She asked me if we did something wrong, and I didn't know what to say." Tears filled his eyes. I want my daughter to grow up in a neighborhood where she is safe, where she is seen, where she is respected." The crowd clapped. Some people cried. Others hugged their children. After the meeting, Chief Khalid came on stage. He stood straight and strong. "I've served this town for 18 years. I've seen many things. But what happened at Mr. Ahmed's BBQ is a reminder to all of us." He paused. "We are here to serve the people, all people. No one should fear the police at a family gathering. That's not justice. That's injustice hiding in uniform." Later that evening, back on Maple Street, something unexpected happened. One by one, the neighbors came out of their houses. Some brought flowers, others brought food. Someone played soft music, and without planning it, the whole street turned into a small gathering. Not a protest, not a party, just neighbors. Finally acting like neighbors, Mr. Ahmed stood in the center, with his wife and daughter. People smiled at him. Children ran around, laughing again. For the first time in days, he smiled too. Chief Khalid arrived a few minutes later and walked up to Mr. Ahmed. "This time," he said, "I came without my badge." Mr. Ahmed laughed. "Good, because tonight, no one is here to judge. We're just here to live." Inside his house, Mr. Wilson watched from his window again. But this time, he didn't feel angry. He felt something different. Regret. He sat down and picked up a piece of paper. At the top, he wrote, "Dear neighbors." The days had passed, but the memory of that afternoon still lived in everyone's heart. Mr. Ahmed's face had been shown on news channels and shared on social media. His voice from the town hall meeting was being quoted on blogs, radio shows, and websites. Some called him a hero. Others called him brave. But in his own eyes, Mr. Ahmed didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired. One morning, just before breakfast, the doorbell rang. Mr. Ahmed opened the door and found Mr. Wilson standing. Outside, his clothes were neat, but his eyes looked heavy, like he hadn't slept. He was holding a white envelope. "Good morning," Mr. Wilson said quietly. Mr. Ahmed said nothing. Mr. Wilson took a deep breath. "I wanted to speak to you, if you'll allow me." Sarah appeared behind Mr. Ahmed, holding Aisha's hand. She looked worried. Mr. Ahmed nodded slowly. "All right, speak." Mr. Wilson stepped forward slightly. "I'm here to say, I'm sorry." His voice cracked as he continued. "I didn't think. I let fear guide me, or maybe pride, maybe both. But I know I did something wrong." He held out the envelope. "This is a letter. I wrote it last night, but I wanted to say it to your face too." Mr. Ahmed took the envelope but didn't open it. Mr. Wilson looked at him. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed to take this step." There was a pause. Then Mr. Ahmed finally spoke. "You called the police on us for doing something peaceful, for just being ourselves." My daughter cried. "My mother got scared. You don't know what that did to us." Double quotes. Mr. Wilson looked down. "I do now. I see it everywhere. On the news, online, people are angry with me, and they should be." He looked up again. "But you're right. Saying sorry is easy. Changing is hard. I want to try." Mr. Ahmed nodded slowly. "You should," he said, "but not for me, for yourself, for this neighborhood, for the people who saw you as someone better." Mr. Wilson gave a weak smile. "I understand." Then, quietly, he turned and walked away. Evening, Mr. Ahmed finally opened the letter. It read, "Dear neighbors, I made a mistake, a serious one. I judged without understanding. I acted with fear instead of love. I hurt people who did nothing wrong. I've lived here for a long time, but I've never tried to truly know you. That is my failure. I don't ask for forgiveness. I only ask for a chance to learn, and maybe one day, to do something right. Sincerely, Mr. Wilson." Sarah read it too. She folded the letter and placed it inside a drawer. "He meant it," she said softly. "Maybe," Mr. Ahmed replied, "but time will show us." Later that night, Mr. Ahmed sat outside in the backyard with Aisha. The stars were shining. The wind was soft. Aisha rested her head on her father's shoulder. "Baba," she asked. "Yes." "Why did Mr. Wilson say, sorry?" Mr. Ahmed thought for a moment. "Because sometimes people don't know how much pain they've caused until they see it in someone's eyes." Aisha looked up. "Are you still angry?" Mr. Ahmed smiled weakly. "A little, but I'm not letting it control me. Forgiveness is not for him, Aisha, it's for us." Meanwhile, across the street, Mr. Wilson sat at his kitchen table, looking at old photos of his late wife. She had been kind, warm, always friendly with neighbors. He had become colder after she passed away. "I lost myself somewhere along the way," he whispered to her picture. "But maybe I can still come back." The next morning, the video from the BBQ reached national news. One reporter said, "This is not just a story about a BBQ, it's about what many families go through quietly." But this time, the silence was broken, and people listened. Talk shows began inviting Mr. Ahmed to speak. Newspapers called him the calm voice in a noisy world. But Mr. Ahmed didn't want fame. He didn't want interviews. He only wanted peace. One afternoon, he received a phone call from a nearby school. "Mr. Ahmed, would you come and speak to our students?" the teacher asked. "They've been talking about the video. They want to learn about kindness and standing up for what's right." Mr. Ahmed thought for a moment, then he agreed. At the school, he stood in front of dozens of teenagers. Many had seen the video. Many were from families like his. He told them his story not with anger, but with honesty. Sometimes the world makes you feel small, he said, but don't let it change who you are. Never stop being kind. Never stop standing strong. One student raised his hand. Did the man who called the police say sorry? Mr. Ahmed nodded. Yes, he did. Did you forgive him? Mr. Ahmed looked at the boy for a second. I'm trying, he said with a soft smile. Some wounds take time to heal. That evening, Mr. Wilson joined a community meeting for the first time in years. He sat quietly in the back row. When someone asked for volunteers to help clean the neighborhood park, Mr. Wilson raised his hand. People noticed. Some were surprised. Others just nodded. He wasn't forgiven yet, but he had started walking a different road. Later that week, Mr. Ahmed and his family received a card from one of the students that said, "Thank you for showing the world what real strength looks like. The strength to forgive, the strength to speak. You made us proud." Mr. Ahmed read it aloud to his family. Then he folded it and placed it in the same drawer as Mr. Wilson's letter. 2 letters, he said. One full of regret, one full of hope. Sarah smiled. Maybe that's how healing begins. 1 letter at a time. It had been 1 week since the barbecue incident. 1 week since the sirens, the false call, the fear, but something had changed in the neighborhood. There was a new feeling in the air, like the street was breathing again. Neighbors, who used to pass by silently, now waved. Children played together from different houses. Even people who never spoke before were now having conversations. For the first time in a long while, people were connecting. Mr. Ahmed was watering his garden when he heard footsteps behind him. It was Mrs. Grace, the old lady from 3 doors down. She held a small notebook in her hand. "Good morning," she said kindly. "Good morning, Mr. Ahmed replied, smiling. "I was wondering." She hesitated. "Would you like to help us plan something?" Mr. Ahmed paused. "Plan what?" She opened the notebook. Inside were scribbles, drawings, and ideas. "A street barbecue," she said. "A real one. Open to the whole community. No secrets, no fear. Just food and people coming together." Mr. Ahmed looked at her, surprised. "You want me to help lead it?" Mrs. Grace smiled. "We want you to host it." By evening, more neighbors had joined the idea. Families from different backgrounds came forward. People brought chairs, decorations, and even extra grills. Chief Khalid offered to arrange safety and security, but in casual clothes, not in uniform. Even the local bakery offered to donate bread. The idea had become real. The next Sunday, Maple Street looked completely different. Colorful banners were tied between trees. Tables lined both sides of the road. Children painted signs that said, "Everyone's welcome, one street, many stories, BBQ for all." Music played softly through speakers, and the smell of delicious food filled the air. People laughed, hugged, and shared their favorite recipes. And in the middle of it all stood Mr. Ahmed, smiling, grilling, and shaking hands with neighbors who just a few days ago had been strangers. Then something unexpected happened. Mr. Wilson came. He wore a plain gray shirt and held a large bowl covered with foil. At first, people grew quiet. They didn't know what to expect, but Mr. Ahmed saw him and walked forward. "Welcome," he said. Mr. Wilson nodded. "I brought my wife's famous potato salad. She used to make it for the whole block years ago." Mr. Ahmed looked at the bowl, then back at Mr. Wilson. "Let's put it on the table," he said. They walked side by side. A young boy ran up to Mr. Wilson, holding a paper plate. "Can I try your salad?" the boy asked. Mr. Wilson smiled for the first time in days. Of course, he served him a spoonful and watched as the boy walked away, happily eating. That small moment meant more to Mr. Wilson than any apology. It meant someone gave him a second chance. As the day went on, people danced, talked, and shared their stories. One woman, Maria, stood with Sarah and said, "I've lived here for 10 years, and this is the first time I feel like I belong." Sarah smiled. "Me too." Even Aisha was busy helping paint faces and teaching kids a simple song she had learned at school. Later, she stood beside her father and looked at the crowd. "Baba," she said, "look, we did it." Mr. Ahmed looked around. It was more than a BBQ now. It was healing. It was hope. Later in the afternoon, Chief Khalid took the mic. He stood on a small wooden platform and looked at the smiling crowd. "When I joined the police force," he said, "I wanted to protect people. But sometimes, protection isn't just about stopping crime. Sometimes, it's about standing beside those who are being judged unfairly." He paused, then looked toward Mr. Ahmed. "I want to thank this family," he said, "for turning a moment of pain into a reason for change." The crowd clapped loudly. Mr. Ahmed stepped forward and took the mic. "I didn't plan any of this," he said, "but maybe it was meant to happen. Not just to show what's wrong, but to show what can be right." He looked around at the family's different faces, different skin colors, different languages. "But today proves something," he continued, "that no matter where we come from, we can share one table." Everyone clapped again. As the sun began to set, Mr. Wilson sat quietly on a bench, watching the kids play. A boy from the Ahmed family ran toward him. "Do you want a cookie?" the boy asked, holding out a plate. Mr. Wilson looked surprised. He nodded and took one. "Thank you," he said. The boy smiled and ran back. Mr. Wilson looked down at the cookie. then up at the sky. For the first time in a long while, he felt peaceful. That night, Mr. Ahmed and his family sat together, exhausted but happy. It had been 3 months since the day the sirens interrupted the BBQ. 3 months since one call nearly broke a peaceful day. 3 months since a whole neighborhood woke up now. The street looked different not just on the outside, but in the way people lived together. The fences were still there. The houses were the same. But hearts had changed. And sometimes, that's all it takes. One quiet Saturday morning, Mr. Ahmed stepped outside with a cup of tea in his hand. He walked onto the porch and smiled. The air was calm. A few kids rode their bikes. A couple walked their dog. The world felt soft again. Aisha came running outside. Baba, can I go to the park with Sarah's daughter? Mr. Ahmed looked across the street and saw his neighbor, Mrs. Patel, waving. He nodded. Go ahead, but stay where I can see you. Aisha smiled and ran off, her laughter echoing through the street. Mr. Ahmed took a deep breath and sat on the bench outside his gate. This was peace. Across the street, Mr. Wilson stood near his rosebush, carefully trimming the dry leaves. His hands moved gently, and his face was quiet. He looked up and saw Mr. Ahmed. Their eyes met. Mr. Wilson raised his hand slowly. A simple wave. Mr. Ahmed waved back. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The silence between them was no longer cold. It was healing. Later that day, Mr. Ahmed visited the local school. He had been invited to speak again, this time to parents and teachers. He stood in front of them and said, "What happened to my family was painful, but what came after was beautiful. We were seen. We were heard. We were loved." Then he added something more. "We didn't just survive that moment. We grew stronger, and now we're helping others feel strong too." He shared how neighbors were organizing monthly cleanup events, story nights for kids, and cooking classes from different cultures. The school principal clapped. "You've inspired a whole neighborhood," she said. Mr. Ahmed smiled humbly. "We all did it together." Meanwhile, Police Chief Khalid had been working quietly on a new project. He was training officers on cultural respect and bias awareness, something that had never been done before in their small town. Every officer must know the power of their presence, he told the team. "We don't just carry badges, we carry trust, and we must earn it every day." One officer raised a hand. "Sir, will you be bringing in community members to speak?" "Yes," said Khalid. "And Mr. Ahmed will be the first." At home, Sarah and Aisha were preparing dinner. The smell of biryani filled the air. Soft music played from a small radio in the kitchen. Sarah looked at her daughter. "You've grown up a little, haven't you?" Aisha smiled proudly. "I was brave, right? The bravest," her mother replied. Then Aisha asked a question that made Sarah pause. "Will something like that happen again?" Sarah took a moment. "I hope not," she said softly, "but even if it does, now we know we're not alone." One evening, a knock came at the door. It was a young man wearing glasses, holding a notebook. "Mr. Ahmed," he asked. "I'm a college student. I'm writing about real-life stories of courage. Can I talk to you?" Mr. Ahmed invited him inside. They sat down with tea. The young man asked, "What gave you the strength to stay calm that day?" Mr. Ahmed thought for a moment. Then he said, "Because I didn't want my daughter to grow up in fear, and because I knew kindness would speak louder than anger." The article went viral. It was titled, "The Man Who Turned Hate into Healing." More people reached out. Schools, communities, even national TV. But Mr. Ahmed stayed grounded. He didn't want fame. He just wanted fairness, and peace. 3 months later, a new sign was placed at the entrance of Maple Street. It read, "Welcome to Maple Street, where neighbors are family, where all cultures are home, where one BBQ changed everything." People took photos near the sign. Families gathered around it. Even Mr. Wilson came to see it. He stood there, quietly, and read the words again and again. Then he turned to Mr. Ahmed, who had come with Aisha, spoke gently. "I was part of the past, but I want to be part of this future too." Mr. Ahmed looked at him. This time, he smiled not just with his lips, but with his eyes. "You already are." And so, the story came full circle. What started as one wrong call became a reason for thousands to speak up. It opened hearts, changed lives, and reminded a town of what really matters. Not skin color, not fear, but understanding, respect, and community.